Welcome in to the latest episode of that SEC podcast. I'm your host, Michael Bratton. I go by SEC Mike on Twitter, and I'm flying solo for this show. Cousin Shane couldn't make it on this one. He'll be back on the next episode, but hey, if he's not drinking one, I'll do it for him. Yeah! I gotta be honest with you guys, though. This is not a real beer. This is a root beer. I am not at the point to where I can handle alcohol and edit these videos. So, hey, I'll be drinking the real thing once the season arrives, but not at this point just yet. Once again, I do appreciate all the support we've been getting on the YouTube and everything like that. People keep asking how they can support the show. Well, we got merchandise. I started to put koozies out. Probably should have done that from day one. Got my Arkansas koozie. Got my Arkansas shirt. You can get shirts like this. We got shirts for every single team over at our TeePublic site. And that the show notes will have that location in there. The link to our store and everything like that. So any and all help we certainly do appreciate. Help grow the show. Really trying to take this thing to the next level this season. But hey, that's enough about me promoting this damn thing. You guys showed up for a show, and we got a great one for you. Tons of clips. But before we get into the actual news around the SEC, I don't want to say I created some news of my own, but I was recently on Texags Radio with David Nuno, and had a little hot take on the show. Let's kick it over to just this little clip.
Hey, you talk about hate mail. I'll pick some up right here on my way out. But I keep seeing all these lists with Jimbo Fisher, far and away better coach than Ed Orgeron. And I know LSU was a disaster last year, but heading into that, he was 45-10 in his time at LSU. So I take exception to people that think Coach O is some horrible coach that can't get it done. I think he's one of the best in college football. He's right up there with Jimbo Fisher.
Right up there? Right up there?
I got him right up there.
History? Longevity? What Jimbo's able to do, and his
what he's done at LSU, though, has been very, very impressive.
Okay. I would take Jimbo 100 times out of 100. But, Michael, hey, I appreciate your time. We all have opinions. And
I figured I'd get this kind of reaction from him, talking about Coach O and Jimbo and kind of having them eye to eye. But I don't know. I just really think that we all get caught up in, what we just saw, what just happened. 2020, of course, disaster for LSU, the best season yet of the Jimbo Fisher era at Texas A&M. So very, very easy to see why people are having Jimbo Fisher as a better coach from Ed Orgeron. And I'm not even necessarily saying that's inaccurate, because Jimbo Fisher does have a long track record of success, won a national championship at Florida State. He's got Texas A&M basically knocking on the door of another one, or at least an SEC title. But of course, if you win that SEC title, you're right in the thick of it for the national title. So, broke down a couple of the numbers here between Ed Orgeron and Jimbo Fisher. I'm going to go Fisher first. 26-10 overall at Texas A&M, 17-8 in the SEC. Now he's 3-0 in bowl games, and here's how his Texas A&M teams have finished in the division under his leadership: second, fourth, and second. Now you can debate the order of these, but I've kind of gotten together his biggest wins: beating Florida last year, number 4 in the team in the nation, beating number 13 North Carolina in the Orange Bowl last year. That was a big one. And LSU in 2018, the 7 overtime game. I'm not trying to totally discredit the rest of this guy's, what would that be, 15 SEC wins, but look at some of his SEC wins on the road since coming over to Texas A&M. He's beaten South Carolina in 2018 on the road, Ole Miss in 2019 in Oxford, and then they fired Matt Luke right after that. And then last season's really kind of where he got it rolling. Beat Mississippi State in Starkville. Again, won at South Carolina in 2020. Of course, they fired Will Muschamp. Won on the road at Auburn. Of course, they fired Gus Malzahn. And then at Tennessee, last game, regular season game. And then Tennessee turned around and fired Jeremy Pruitt. So I mean, when you look at it like that, it's not like Jimbo Fisher is winning a ton of road games here in the SEC. Now, let's be fair to him. It's only been 3 seasons. He's got plenty of opportunities this upcoming season. Now let's kick it over to Coach O. 45-14 overall, 28-12 in the SEC. So those records are looking better than Fisher. 3-1 in bowl games, 1 SEC championship, 1 national championship. Here's how Coach O's teams at LSU finished in the division under his leadership: 2nd, 3rd, 2nd, 1st, 4th. So you're seeing a more consistency from Jimbo. We'll give him the edge there. I think it's a little not consistent enough for LSU fans, but hell, again, 2nd, 3rd, 2nd, 1st, and 4th, pretty damn good. And biggest wins, of course, national championship over Clemson, beat Oklahoma in the playoff, and beat Alabama on the road 2019. Coach O's also 2-0 against Georgia under Kirby Smart. And then last season, I continue to count that as a huge win, winning against Florida last season, 20-something point underdog. Gators were looking playoff bound, lost with a true freshman, Max Johnson, starting on the road, first game ever. So, again, not necessarily saying that Coach Orgeron is, the greatest coach in the country or anything like that, and Jimbo Fisher's terrible. People always seem to read that into these conversations here, these debates, if you will. But, I think they're pretty even at this point. Now, next season maybe next season goes a long way to determining which one is the best coach. Coach O gets to host Jimbo. Head-to-head, these coaches are 2-1. With the 7 overtime being the edge there for Jimbo, neck and neck. So, you could almost say they're dead even. Of course, the scoreboard says favor Jimbo just slightly there. But I can't wait for this matchup. Last game of the season in 2021, and I think it could decide the winner of the SEC West. But all right, that's enough about me spieling about me getting in trouble with Aggie Land there. Let's kick it around the league.
Now let's go around the league.
My daughters said something about me wearing a visor and need to put on a hat because I'm getting bald. So I'm going to wear a hat from here on out.
If you look over the next 6 years, I think we played Miami 3 times, Florida State 6 times, South Florida 3 times, Mississippi State once. So who's the SEC teams? I think it's an injustice for the kids. We should mix those games up, and you should, play more teams from the West.
Why don't you start calling around and see if you can get somebody else to play us, and we'll play them. We'll play anybody you can get to play us.
In Louisiana, hold on a second. Hey guys! Hey! I'm having a press conference, okay? Thank you.
We'll start things off here in Columbia, South Carolina. Haven't talked about the Gamecocks here in a little while, and we're all fired up about the Shane Beamer era. They're killing it on the recruiting trail, and all the buzz. You hear all about this offense, and it's going to be Joe Brady type offense mixed with Lincoln Riley's Oklahoma system. So it all sounds great, but one thing we haven't really talked much about: defensive coordinator Clayton White, one of his defensive backs here, Jahmar Brown, during recent media availability, hyping up the Gamecocks receivers and tight ends. But more importantly, he really did a number on this defense. Bold comments here from Brown. So let's kick it over to him. Again, this is Jahmar Brown.
When you're in coverage, I'm guessing you're probably mostly covering tight ends, running backs, those types of guys who are
everywhere, tight end, running back, receiver.
Yeah, okay. Who are some of the tougher guys that maybe not necessarily for you to cover, but who are some of those guys that tend to give back?
All our receivers are really good. I'm telling you, all our receivers are really good. All our receivers are really good. All our tight ends are very good. Nick Muse is very good. Jaheim Bell is very good. Kevion Mullins, E.J. Jenkins, all of them are very good. So I can't really single out one person, but just know all of them are very difficult to cover.
You guys just finished practice number 5. What are some early returns on your impressions of Coach White's defensive scheme and some guys that are maybe standing out to you?
no one will figure this defense out. Not one offense that we play will figure this defense out. This defense is fun to play. It's fun to be in. It's complex. It's all over the place. It's really fun to play. It's really fun to play in. And offensive guys are, like I said, just like how I said about our receivers, and our running backs and tight ends. Like there's no one that's really standing out. Like the whole offense is pretty good. So that's I have to leave it at that one.
All right, so there you got it from Brown. And I know I've mentioned several times that, South Carolina with the schedule, the first half of the season, they've got a real chance to get some momentum built early in the season. And one thing maybe we've not spoken enough about is the fact that with a brand new staff like this, I don't think hardly anyone knows what the Gamecocks have in Marcus Satterfield and Clayton White. And that's not necessarily, I'm not saying one way or another it's, outstanding or terrible. I mean, it could be anywhere in between that as well. But, that is an advantage that South Carolina is going to have early in the season with so many transfers being brought in, with new coaching staff. There's just no film on what the Gamecocks are going to be doing. So the schedule lines up well. I think South Carolina has certainly got the talent to compete early in the season next year. I keep saying it, 4-2, 5-1. Not necessarily predicting that. We have to, things change quick. We'll see how the Gamecocks look week 1, week 2. But right now, I mean, I'm seeing a lot of wins potentially on South Carolina's schedule early in the season. And the fact that here you got players touting up what this defense is going to look like, what some of these players on the offensive side are going to look like. The momentum, positive buzz there in Columbia, South Carolina. All right, next let's kick it on down to Fayetteville, where Arkansas linebacker coach Michael Scherer met with the media here recently. Some of his linebackers did as well. And, this is a guy that last year was an analyst, followed Barry Odom from Missouri to Arkansas, played at Missouri, one of the better players when he was a veteran on that Missouri Tigers defense, and someone that, you really need to keep your eye on because we remember Barry Odom, how well he did last season, and then all the buzz about, all these job offers he had. He decided to stay with his friend Sam Pittman for at least another year. Michael Scherer, I'm not saying Barry Odom's got one foot out the door, certainly, or anything like that, but if he has another big season, the job offers are going to keep coming, and before long, he's going to get offered another head coaching job. He's going to keep getting offered defense coordinator job. So this is a guy to keep your eye on, someone that knows Barry Odom's system through and through, and maybe he's a defensive coordinator before you know it. Someone that can really express Odom's defense and vision and all that to the players. And he's got, after years and years of us wondering, does Arkansas even got the linebackers to compete in the SEC? Now they got a bevy of them, and they're all experienced. They're all back. And even last year, they were playing hurt. So let's kick it over to Michael Scherer. I really like these comments he had about Grant Morgan and just the leadership the Razorbacks get from him. And on Hayden Henry, Michael Scherer kind of digs into that.
Grant Morgan, he's kind of a different guy in terms of, we've seen some leaders come through here before, but he just seems like he's got the whole package, even the background coming from a walk-on, just like, just got a great story and everything. Is he unique in terms of, what you see in terms of a guy that's, a leader for a team?
Grant makes my job very easy, especially, like this summer. I know if I say, hey, Grant, get the guys together, do this, and this, it's going to get done. It's going to get done right. And that's the same for all the seniors I have in my room. They're just great kids and really good leaders, and everyone in the room looks up to them, and they do the right thing and they play well. So, Grant is not only the leader of our room, he's the leader of our team. And that's just who he is. Is what you see is what you get with him. So, he just – I can't say enough good things about him, to be honest with you. He makes my life very easy.
Which I think Sam last year described Hayden Henry as a kind of a throwback, old school kind of player. What do you like about him, and what jumps out to you about his playing style?
Exactly what you said. He's really smart. He's an old school throwback kid. He's tough. He loves to hit people. If you watch him out at practice, he's not far off of Bobby Boucher. He's just a little he's just a little smarter. But, he's just a really hardworking kid. He's a good kid, and I love having him in our room. He's going to be a really good player for us this year.
Michael Bupper was in here the other day and said, he broke some ribs that second game, I guess was against Mississippi State. And then he played, all year, and he had over 100 tackles.
Yep.
What do you think that says about him?
I mean, he's a really tough kid. It's just there were times last year where I had to kind of pull him back a little bit because it felt like, like you say, he had busted ribs. He missed the game. He missed the game because we had to hold him back because he was banged up so much, And he's just a kid that's willing to do anything he possibly can for this team. And so, the last thing he's ever going to do is take himself out of something. And it's like, he's one of those kids, as long as he can walk, he's going to go out there and play. So it's just, he's tough. He loves to play. He loves his teammates. It's just, a great kid, great player. He's going to be really good this year.
Hey, anytime one of these coaches is going to use a Bobby Boucher Waterboy reference, it's going to be featured on this show. So I just thought the Razorback fans would love that. And then, hey, to add a little bit to it, Hayden Henry himself, he spoke to the media after Scherer. And my goodness, he was asked about these Bobby Boucher comments. It sounds like he's got the father of the year there.
Coach Scherer was just describing your play as Bobby Boucher, but a lot smarter. Could you, I guess, describe your playing style, maybe where you picked up that from? And because Coach Pittman was saying last year you're kind of an old school throwback guy.
I can thank my dad for that. I'll tell it as a story. But when I was little, we lived in Atlanta, and my dad, as crazy as this sounds, my dad would say, "Hey, if you make a kid cry today in practice, or you knock a kid out of practice or the game, I'll take you to Dairy Queen." And so I was like, all right, let's go. And so I would just try and go out there and just knock somebody out. And then after practice, I'd go up to him and, "Dad, we're going to Dairy Queen. We're going to Dairy Queen. I knocked somebody out today." So I think that's just kind of translated into, my college play. But I also think the game's meant to be played a certain way, and I appreciate individuals that play it that way. And I think it's a hard, fast, physical game, and I think there's only one way to do it.
Oh, my God. So how great was that? I mean, my goodness, he gets Dairy Queen, but only if he knocks somebody out. And I think it just goes to, obviously, the toughness, but, the love these players have for the Razorbacks. And, hey, they all say it during the offseason, but it's a little bit different when you got to keep in mind, what was he signing up for? He wasn't signing up to go play for Sam Pittman on the up and up. He was a guy that signed up, I believe, when under Chad Morris, when the team was terrible. So, making these commitments to the Razorbacks, even when they're bad, you sure as hell know he's going to be a full Razorback through and through when they're winning as well. So, the guys like this, you're going to have to carry off the field if they have to come off. They are not coming off willingly. So, again, I think this is another positive sign here for the Razorbacks, being led by guys like this. How could you not want to play for a guy like this that is laying it all on the line? And, hell, even the coaches say they have to hold him back at times because, he'll just gut through just about anything, even if, at times it's physically not helping on the field. So, I really like these comments here from the Razorback group. All right, next let's kick it on down to Rocky Top. We're a little bit of news here on the quarterback competition here. Looks like it's down to 3 with Brian Maurer. Nothing quite official just yet, but didn't show up to practice here on Wednesday, and that was after sending out some cryptic messages on social media. So certainly looks like Brian Maurer out of the running and may not even be on the team anymore. So that means Joe Milton, Hendon Hooker, Harrison Bailey down to a 3-man competition under center in Rocky Top. So just wanted to make that little note. And I think, if there was one quarterback, Tennessee fans, you don't want to lose any of them. But if one were to leave, I would think Brian Maurer would be the guy that most people assumed it would be. And given the fact that Hendon Hooker and Joe Milton were brought in this offseason, I know Hendon Hooker was brought in under the previous coaching staff, but it's just all indications were Brian Maurer probably the odd man out. But now that we all know the story of Caden Salter dismissed from the team after multiple incidents. Now we've got 3 scholarship quarterbacks here on Tennessee's roster, and you have to wonder, I mean, just in today's day and age of football, when a starter is named, does that mean someone else is going to transfer out? I don't know. So just something to monitor there on Rocky Top, but that's not all we got for the Vols, because here on Wednesday, the program announced an updated Jumbotron. The Vols have removed Jason Witten in exchange for Alvin Kamara, the great Tennessee running back now with the New Orleans Saints, of course, one of the best players in the entire NFL. And, I love this move all around. I mean, he's a more recent player. No disrespect to Jason Witten, but I think most people at this point know Jason Witten from his time in the NFL and calling games for Monday Night Football. And I would think the vast majority of players and recruits didn't even know Jason Witten. Well, even if they knew he played for Tennessee, they probably don't remember it. So Alvin Kamara, someone that they know and love, and I think it's great that someone doesn't have to wait 50 years before they get put up on the stadium. If you excel in college, you excel in the NFL, Tennessee is going to honor you, and that's what they've done with Alvin Kamara. And speaking of being honored, Tennessee also announced their Week 2 matchup at home against Pitt. It's going to be the Johnny Majors game. So that Johnny Majors, of course, coached Pitt, coached Tennessee, and unfortunately passed away this offseason. So this is going to be a great way for Tennessee and Pitt to honor Johnny Majors. And there is some buzz that there may be some throwback uniforms worn during that game for September 11th, Saturday in Neyland Stadium. So can't wait to see that. Can't wait to see all the tributes to a legend, Johnny Majors. All right, final update on this show. Let's kick it all down to Oxford. Man, we had some bold talk here. This is the best time of year. Everybody's undefeated. Everybody's thinking it's going to stay that way. Of course, it rarely does for hardly anybody, but optimism, man. This is the time for optimism. And I'm not here for people bashing any coaches or players or anything that are optimistic. I mean, this is the time for it. So I'm here for it. I think, listeners of this show know we try to be as optimistic as we can with just about every team. Even when teams we think are finishing dead last, we'll think to the positives there on their roster. So let's kick it over to linebacker Lakia Henry, who thinks Ole Miss defense is going to be one of the best in the SEC and the nation.
How good do you think this defense can realistically be? I know the expectations are high and there's a lot of energy, but there's a lot of really good offenses in this conference, and obviously things weren't great last year, but it seems like you guys are really excited. How good do you think this group can be?
I think we can be the best defense in the SEC and the country, and I'm not saying that because it's Ole Miss or it's us. I'm saying that because I truly believe that with my heart.
Now, again, before anyone piles on this kid, one of the better linebackers here on the Ole Miss roster here, which I know some of you probably laughed as soon as you saw this, and again, I'm not sitting here saying Ole Miss is going to be the best in the SEC on defense after what we saw last year, but let's not kid ourselves. Defense was down across the board last year, and then you're bringing in a new staff. Tackling was limited because of COVID, and no spring. I mean, it was set up to be a disaster across the board. So the defenses should be better all across the country, not just in Oxford. But aside from that, because you could say that those same things I just said with just about any program in the country, here's some of the things Ole Miss got going for them this year. 12 super seniors returning on defense alone. I'll say again, 12 super seniors returning for Ole Miss just on that defense. Otis Reese, of course, the former Georgia safety, he's going to be eligible all season long. And he truly did make an impact when he came back for Ole Miss last season, late in the year after finally gaining his eligibility. So now you got Otis Reese full season. We got some key starters here. Sam Williams, Momo Sanango. And then don't forget this guy, sophomore edge Demon Clowney, former LSU commit and the cousin of Jadeveon Clowney. And, last season it was incredibly tough for everybody, but it was especially tough on these freshmen. It was, how could you have truly came in to last year's situation and made a huge impact, I think Demon Clowney is going to be well positioned to really make a name for himself in Oxford this year. And that's not it. I mean, they got 4-star defensive lineman Tywone Malone just incoming. He was the number 1 player from New Jersey, picked Ole Miss over Texas A&M. They got the top 2 junior college defensive tackles in the program now, just signed this offseason, Isaiah Eaton and Jamon Gordon. So right there, you got plenty of beef up the middle of the defense. For whatever reason, I guess just because these things happened a long time ago, people dismiss them. Transfers. Nigel Knott, former Alabama defensive back, who his career there at Alabama didn't live up to the massive hype due to injuries, but now he's back, so that's going to help Ole Miss. Chase Campbell from Maryland. He was all Big Ten honorable mention, played for DJ Durkin up there with the Terrapins. He's eligible. And Jake Springer, the former Navy defender, second team All-ACC selection in 2019, was not eligible last season. Now he is. So you combine all these pieces, having 2 camps under their belts, spring and fall. Again, I'm not sitting here saying Ole Miss is going to be the SEC's best defense. I think that'd be crazy to say. But I'm right there with Lakia Henry thinking this is going to be one of the most improved units in the SEC. And, well, hell, it better be because they were about the worst damn defense in the SEC in all the country last season. But sticking with Ole Miss here, final note here, Jeff Lebby, the offensive coordinator, also spoke with the media here, and he gave an update on John Rhys Plumlee, how that's going at receiver. And then he had some outstanding comments here for Jerrion Ealy, their running back.
Obviously, we've been talking a lot about John Rhys Plumlee and kind of his transition. What have you kind of seen from him, and has the transition been easier, harder than you thought, and do you see him as a major contributor?
One, yes, the major contributor part, absolutely. He's going to play a ton of snaps for us. He's done a great job through 4 days. It's like going back to the ball game. He practiced 5 days before going to playing the ball game. Now he's gotten some good work, spent a ton of time in here this summer once baseball was over, and he's done a good job. So counting on him.
All right, so anytime we get one of these stories, like Eli Stowers, I don't think we've mentioned that, of Texas A&M, signed as a quarterback. Now he's working out with the tight ends. We saw it last year with Luke Doty, who signed with South Carolina to be a quarterback, and then he started taking reps at receiver. Now, of course, back at quarterback. But, we really got to give it up to these guys in today's modern era. I mean, this used to be something that happened all the time, but it's just not that way anymore, where especially a quarterback, these touted quarterbacks especially, coming into a program, maybe, I don't want to say he's getting hit with adversity, but I don't think John Rhys Plumlee envisioned he was going to have to play receiver for Ole Miss here. But, hey, we've heard no complaints, transitioning right over to it, just like Lane Kiffin has said, just like Jeff Lebby has said, trying to give him an opportunity to make plays for the Rebels this season, get the ball in his hands. And by all accounts, I mean, he's fully embraced that. So in today's modern era of transfers, you got to hand it to guys like this that are willing to do what they can to help the team and put the team first over themselves, because we just, I know that is probably that's the most common across the country, but I don't know. Honestly, I don't even know if I can say that with a straight face anymore, So, I just wanted to make that note. And then, of course, Jeff Lebby pumping up Jerrion Ealy. And everybody talks up Matt Corral for good reason there in Oxford. But Jerrion Ealy, Jeff Lebby hyping up his running back. I thought Ole Miss fans would get fired up to hear this. He came in with a ton of hype. He's lived up to it. But it sounds like Ealy is poised for his best season yet here in Oxford if Lebby can get him the ball.
Jerrion talked a little bit the other day about wanting to expand his role in this offense. Just first off, how's that going? And second, how do you kind of see his role expanding?
He needs the football. Yeah. If I'm smart, I'll get him the football. But that, whether it's in the backfield, not in the backfield, wherever it is, the guy needs the ball. He's special, and we're going to find ways to get it to him for sure.
All right, guys. Well, I think that's going to do it for this episode of the show. And we're going to finish strong on Friday. We've got a terrific guest lined up. First time on the show. Really looking forward to this one. I think you guys are going to like it. Going to get on the line with a very special guest here for Friday's show. So look forward for that. And hey, keep the good vibes going, man. We appreciate the reviews. They're going through the roof. We appreciate all the feedback on the YouTube. And who knows, sooner or later, Shane's going to show up on one of these videos and shock the world. People are wondering, now there's a contest going on Twitter. If you missed it, head on over to mine, SEC Mike. I tweeted it out. But people are trying to guess what Shane looks like with GIFs and sketches and all this stuff. So closest one to the pin, I'm saying, gets a free koozie. So guess what Cousin Shane looks like, and whoever nails it, we're going to send you a beer koozie free of charge. And another way, of course, of guaranteeing yourself one is giving us that 5-star written review on the Apple Podcast app. It's just our way of saying thanks to each and every one of you. But that's going to do it. We'll catch you on the next one.